Spatchcock Nation, we are back with another great hitter, someone that is personally important to me and my personal brand and brands that I've had the chance to interact with. And I'm grateful to have interacted with his brand. So this is Ben Reilley right now. This guy, let me throw you some background at you. This dude is an entrepreneur. He was a distiller, a liquor maker, as they say. Back in the day, he would have been a bootlegger. He's also a brand marketing expert. He's a person that actually also mentors a lot of people. I've seen people that he's done that with. He's given me a lot of great business advice over the years. He's an all-around great storyteller, and that's the thing, because his stories are authentic, which is why he's a great fit for the show. I mean, you combine booze, great storytelling, rugged outdoorsmanship. This dude is where it's at. So, Ben, how you doing, baby?
I'm just thrilled that I'm the first guest with the new hairstyle on Spatchcock. I mean, that's all you need to know right here. I'm phenomenal. How are you?
I'm not bad, man. You know, I had to dress the part. I knew you were going to be on here looking all sharp up by the lake. You know what I'm saying?
I feel like I should have sharpened mine up a little bit too. But I currently have my 14-year-old working on the fade over during. So he's doing a pretty good job, as a matter of fact. So I might be saving some money on haircuts moving forward.
No, for sure. The fade looks really good. I was just going to say, where's the underground studio you go to get it done?
It's about 10 feet over there, right in the kitchen.
Oh, man. All right. So we're going to get into some questions because Ben has great opinions and thoughts that are just interesting to listen to. And they're usually different viewpoints that somehow will relate back to the way that you think. That's one of the things I love about you. So like we typically do about this time, we're going to roll into MFK. And the fact that you're both an outdoorsy guy, a brand guy, and a bit of an adventurer, we've got a little bit of a curveball for you. And you have to pretend that two of these people are unfortunately no longer with us, but imagine they're in their prime, healthy. So you've got GRYLLS, Steve Irwin, and Anthony Bourdain. MFK.
This one was really hard because I'll be honest with you. I'm not a huge consumer of media, which is kind of weird, right? Because we're working media. I don't consume a lot. So I knew who Anthony Bourdain was. I knew who Steve Irwin was. I didn't know who Bear was. I actually had to Google Bear, and I feel terrible saying that. So here's what I'm going to go with. I'm going to go with marry Anthony Bourdain just for the cuisine. Just straight out, because a lot of that stuff, you need to have that for a good marriage. So I think he and I would be a good fit long term. With the F, I got to go with Steve Irwin. I just felt like, I don't want to get too far into it, but fit guy, outdoors guy. I'm like, all right, not too bad. And I got to kill Bear because I didn't even know who Bear was before. So I'm embarrassed to say that, but I didn't even know he was around. So there you go. There's my answer.
Okay, so those are awesome answers. And I love the honesty, especially being a media personality yourself. And I love that. And the Steve Irwin is a good F choice because he's going to make everything, he'll be super enthusiastic, you know what I mean? And I feel like he's going to be very gentle because he is with all the critters. So, but actually, I got to flip that on you. I'm still also going to kill Bear because I feel like he'd also be super know-it-all-y about everything all the time. Like, I mean, this dude knows how to recycle urine 10 times. Like, I don't want to hear that. If he needs to tell me to put the seat down, it's like, all right, man, I get it. So I'm killing him. But I'm going to marry Steve Irwin because just his relationship with everybody, his family, all the critters he deals with, I just feel like that's a good long-term partner to roll with. And I'm gonna definitely F Bourdain. I kind of want to marry him for the same reasons you do, but there's a few things. I mean, he's been a hero to me. Kitchen Confidential is one of my favorite books to read. He's also not like, I'm not saying he's a bad guy, like he's a villain, but he is openly admitting to being a giant asshole, and that would be a problem. Also, too, he hates like online cooking shows and things like that, so he would actually hate this show. So. So I gotta just one night stand with him because that one night stand is gonna be awesome. He's a big troublemaker. You're gonna have good times, good food, and then I'm sure everything else will be a little fear and loathing in Las Vegas style,
I respect that. I saw my three choices. I was grinding over my three choices. I was afraid of what my three choices were going to be, and you delivered. So well done. I appreciate that.
Well, one of the things we'll talk later about your affinity for the brand Jeep, which I have a big affinity for too. One of the things we looked at were some of the most famous Jeep drivers, like not like professional Jeep drivers, but musicians and things like that. So Hendrix had one for a while, but then we figured that wouldn't keep you as uncomfortable as we wanted to. So we felt like this was the right pitch.
I was definitely squirming from the first question, so you got me in the right mindset for sure.
So here's another one too that I've been curious about. We've had the pleasure of having drinks before, but you having created an awesome brand, Life of Reilley vodka, awesome. Disco lemonade, awesome. I remember drinking it at a Chiefs game and just being like, you know what, I'm only gonna have one drink, and at the end of the game, I've got to Uber home because I had like six disco lemonades. So, what for you, as someone who has genuine expertise in the field, what is your go-to summer cocktail?
If I was squirming a little bit on question number one, I am super squirmy on question number two. You're going to hate this answer. I'm not a cocktail guy.
That's cool. That's cool. All right.
I'm not. It's so funny that I'll be honest. When I started Life of Reilley almost 7 years ago now, as an entrepreneur, we do one of two things. We solve a problem or we provide a service, right? So one of the things we did when we wrote the business plan for Life of Reilley, where we were only number 55 in the entire state for distillers. I saw it as a market play. I was not a vodka drinker. I was not a cocktail drinker. I'm still not to this day. But Siobhan is the one, my wife, she's the one with, I say, the world-class palate. And she's the one that we educated ourselves in the spirit industry. And then disco lemonade is a whole nother, we could do an entire show on disco lemonade, but she's the one that nailed it. My go-to, honestly, is a dry stone, pick it out of a running stream, lick the bottom of the stone, dry Riesling. That is my go-to summer drink. That is what I'm doing from Memorial Day to Labor Day. If I did have a cocktail, here's what it would be. It'd be a really, really high-end traditional margarita with a little bit of Chambord on top, black raspberry Chambord. Ooh. So we'll do that. Siobhan and I will do that with a little bit of sugar rim on it. So we will do that.
Okay. So before I give you my answer, I'm going to throw some more stuff at you because, it's amazing to think about that you're not a big liquor drinker because of the quality of the product that you created, right? It wasn't just that you filled a niche, though you did. And there was a cool brand around it too, like the way the label works in the bottle. That was super dope. How did you then, without having a lot of passion for the particular product, even though as a businessman and entrepreneur, you have a passion for solving a problem, how did you really determine what was good? Like, tell us about the making of that. How'd that come about?
One of the biggest
the liquor, yeah.
Yeah, one of the biggest things I'm proud of in my entire career was I was a winemaker before this. I was working for a winery and wrote the business plan for Aware Vineyards here in Casanova. One of the things I'm most proud of is that I had a garbage palate before I started at Aware. I mean, awful. I was I was drinking 10 Diet Pepsis a day. I was the 3 Monster Energy drink guy. Like, I was that guy getting into that business. And we worked with a consultant winemaker out of the Finger Lakes, Peter Bell from Fox Run Vineyards, one of the most preeminent winemakers in the world. He'll never say it, so I'll say it for him. He ended up developing my palate over a 5-year period, and I really got to work under one of the best. So I took that Riesling, Cab Sauv, Marquette, Northern style climate of grapes, and he really just expressed my palate as well. He had me express my palate. So when it came to spirits, when we saw the opportunity to start a distillery with vodka here in Casanova, I started just tasting things. I tasted things. I read a lot of articles. I'm like, oh, Sobieski is supposed to be pretty good, and this is supposed to be pretty good. So I started to mirror my distilling techniques after the ones that I started to read about. Then I started to think about, like, how would this translate in a cocktail? How would my friends sip this? How would somebody like you put a couple on rocks and kind of sip this on the back deck after mowing the lawn? And I really just I took a winemaker's mindset into distilling, and then that's how you got to Life of Reilley vodka.
That's an awesome story. And for all the entrepreneurs that are listening to this, especially the young up and coming ones, that's how you determine what you're going to do. You do real field research. You learn that. That's awesome. My cocktail answer, I've got the real answer and then a semi-real answer. So my real answer is what I'm doing a lot this summer as we're starting out. I've been sipping a good tequila on the rocks, like a Casamigos, but I've also been doing a lot of Espolón with like some club soda, a little lime, some mint in there, because I can do that in volume as needed, and it's not huge calories, and I can control it a little bit. But another one that my semi-real answer is one that I don't do that often, but I love, is a mojito. And it's the way that Dinosaur Barbecue throws theirs down. So they use a splash of sour mix, and it gives it this little bit of a tangy thing that, man, I can just drink tons of them. And when you go in there too, like, this is such a light, refreshing drink. Like, dude, that's tons. That's like a giant glass of sugar, but
well, hey, to each his own.
Yeah, no doubt. But it's a good summer drink for sure. So I love that you're being so free and honest about the business experiences. and being raw about it. So this one's a raw question. From a creative standpoint, what's the most embarrassing pitch or idea you've ever tried to pitch or sell or had happen to you?
We did we did an event at the winery that was just it was awful. We ended up trying to do this thing at Brew at the Zoo in Syracuse. And we had like some people that were trying to dress up as, so one of our mascots at Awera was like a big hummingbird. Like there's a lot of hummingbirds out here in Casanova. And one of the ideas that the Brew at the Zoo folks had was, hey, it's your first time at Brew at the Zoo. Let's get somebody dressed up as like a big hummingbird. So of course there's like no hummingbird costumes, right? So we had to like manufacture this hummingbird costume. We're there. It's 100, with Brew at the Zoo, it was like August 5th, right? So it's like 115 degrees outside. So I'm out there literally almost ready to pass out, trying to hand out wine samples at Brew at the Zoo. I ended up taking this thing off. I'm drenched from head to toe. The woman and she meant well. I'm not bagging on her at all, but she came around, she looked at me, she's like, yeah, this was a really bad idea. Like in concept, it was a good idea, but it's like in practice, it just was nobody knew what it was. Nobody could make the connection between the wine and the hummingbird. I give credit where credit's due. You have to try stuff. Like 1 is always greater than 0, like we always talk about. Yeah. But this was just bad idea, and it did not work.
That's an awesome story. And then also too, someone's sweating out in that costume, and you've got like, then she comes by and says that to you, and you still got 2 more hours of the event, and you're like, great.
The next year it was a great event. The next year we just played it straight. We had a better position. It was a lot cooler that day. A lot less drunk people, a lot less puking in the garbage cans. But that first year was brutal.
Yeah, that's an interesting story, because about like one of the things that I admire about you is your ability to go in and try things. And you said 1 is better than 0. To me, always, I was talking to a friend about this yesterday. Like, I'd rather do something than nothing. And you always done that. Like, I've seen you moderate panels and things and do a great job at that, but also show up and just like wing a sales pitch in a luxury box at a Chiefs game. In a way that's like organic and stuff. So, but to do that, I mean, right? You've failed quite a lot of times. Would that be an accurate thing to say?
I've failed probably 95% of the time, and I know you have a lot of young entrepreneurs that listen to this show, and that's, a lot of it comes with age, a lot of it comes with maturity, but a lot of it comes with just not caring what other people think of you. I mean, that's really the number one thing. Is that this is what I tell all entrepreneurs that'll listen to me. If you make 100 sales calls or 100 pitches, you're going to get 90 no's. You're going to get 10 people that say maybe. You're going to get 5 people that say give me the quote, and you're going to get 2 yeses out of that 100. As long as you're okay with 98 straight no's to get to where you want to go, I don't care if it's pitches at Chiefs game or Brew at the Zoo or Disco Lemonade at the State Fair. I don't care what it is. As long as you don't hear in your head, no, I don't want your product or service, comma, and you're a bad guy. Nobody is saying, and you're a bad guy. They're just saying, I don't want your product and service. And something clicked with me about 5 or 6 years ago. Maybe it was the necessity that this brand had to be a success for me to feed my family. But that was when I heard in my mind, it's like, I don't care what that person thinks across the table. They just don't want your product and service. So go find more people that do want your product and service.
That's such a great point. Like that success rate about trying, especially when you're trying things like creating a brand, and you do this all the time with others' brands, your own brands. You are not going to please everybody, and success rates, like, a Major League Baseball player bats 300, and if they do that for the career, they're going to be a potential Hall of Famer, right? That means they get a hit 30% of the time, they fail 70% of the time. And in our type of fields, and a lot of people's fields, if you're going to try to sell things and do things, I mean, your success rate of getting a meeting and closing deals, that's like, 2 to 3%, that's a pretty great success rate.
Yes, it is.
Because if you grind out and put the time in, those numbers are going to go up. The revenue and the brand building goes up, and you learn a lot through all the failures. Yeah, I have so many embarrassing failures and things like that, especially with pitching ideas. I don't even know where to start, but one that always comes to my mind that now when I'm teaching and mentoring stuff, I tell the story. Well, I tell a lot of stories, but I tell this story a lot, is that one time I was working, this was years ago, maybe I'm 42, so I was probably 30 maybe at the time. We had gone and we were pitching an idea to a brand from an agency, and beforehand we're like going to do research in the target audience and things they'd be interested in. We're doing those things the right way, and then there's a point where we should turn and look at what the competitors were doing. And I made a decision at that point, which was all on me, was like, you know what? I don't care what they're doing. We're going to do our own different thing. It's going to be awesome. And we're going to do our own thing. It's going to be great. So because we're too cool to worry about that. We're going to be so different. So we go do all this work, come up with a really cool concept, and we go in to pitch it to the client. And at first the client, we're building it up and the client's nodding like, oh, this is going to be great. And then we show the idea and they kind of look back and are like, are you serious? And I'm like, do they not get it? Like, I don't understand. And they're like, their biggest competitor had just rolled out an almost identical campaign like 3 days before that. Oh. And it was just the most embarrassing thing ever because we had spent so much time preparing the idea and everything that didn't do the one small thing, like, let's see what everybody else is doing. You know, so now when someone's like, hey, I have this idea for a business, can we talk about it? I'm like, yeah, before you do, Google search the name, everything you're talking about, what's the next best alternative, all that type of stuff. And people are like, oh, this is just so different. I'm like, trust me, I've been there. You don't want to fall into that trap, you know? It happens though.
It happens, but you said it yourself. As long as you don't care coming out of that meeting, it's like, all right, well, we missed it. We whiffed. It's like, yeah. It's like, go to the next opportunity. Nobody, yeah. You know, people that, not to pontificate too much, but everybody just got pushed off a cliff, you know, in this last 3 months. It's the people that spend time wringing their hands and spend time romanticizing about how they ran their business before this or how they pitched before this. Those are the people that are going to spend more time, you know, not looking up opportunities. It's the people that built brand before all of this and have done a million pitches, so they know the next opportunity is right around the corner. You just got to go find it and not worry about what just happened in that room.
Man, you are so right. And that's critical for everybody these days. You know, and to me, like that failure, I learned, okay, now I'm gonna make sure we always do competitive analysis. And that's a really painful lesson. The other part of what you just said though is important too, because now I think when people that have had amazing, great jobs, great performance of their jobs, this global pandemic is a true act of God and act of nature. And I'm not getting on it, but and I pontificate all you want, because this is something that people that have become successful in their fields made a lot of money all of a sudden because of something out of their control. Everything that they built now no longer exists. So they've had to deal with failure that was out of their control, right? And most of the time, almost all of our failures are our own fault, almost all. So now you have failures that aren't. So now this is becoming this type of environment where it's leveling the playing field for a lot of people. And now it's coming out like, okay, are you gonna be brave enough to try? And some people now they've realized they can be a lot braver because they realize that their tenuous hold, you know what I mean, is not as strong as it once was. So it's strange times we're living in, but I think some things are being good out of that. The birth of new businesses. You're seeing a lot of really great human interaction, like supporters of people that are being sick. Takeout business is up. Alcohol consumption is way up, which is good for people that are in that business. So that's a good thing. It's not great for my waistline, but
well, you know. we're all coming out of this 7 to 9 pounds heavier. But that's the fun part, is trying to get it off, right?
Yeah, somebody said before it was like it's the COVID-19, like the freshman 15. Like, okay, yep. So one of my friends the other day too was talking about a guy that she met, and she's like, yeah, I saw a picture of him the other day, and she goes, he looked kind of COVID cute. And I'm like, COVID cute? She goes, yeah, it's like dad bod, like your hair isn't really well trimmed, like haven't been working out a lot. I'm like, wow, that guy's COVID cute. Okay, so let's talk about this. As an avid off-roader and adventurer, what is your best getting a Jeep stuck story?
This was almost really, really bad. So we have some of our very good friends moved to Casanova about 4 years ago. They bought 5 acres on Westlake Road, and they have a huge ridge behind their road it's pretty dense, and it goes back about 5 acres, and it's huge. So of course, the first thing I'm thinking of, because that's what I always do with my Jeep, is I'm observing everybody's terrain. So we get into it one night, we're having a bonfire. They have 2 kids, we have 2 kids. And, you know, I'm very careful because I'm always the driver, always the driver. So we're standing around the bonfire, and my buddy looks to me, his name's Scott. He's like, hey, he goes, I was walking out back behind the pasture this morning. I go, yeah. I said, can we get the Jeep back there? He goes, he goes, it's gonna be tight because there's buried stumps everywhere. He goes, you gotta be really careful. This guy cut down a lot of wood for fires and everything. I said, what do you think? He goes, yeah. He goes, are you all right? I go, yeah, I have 1 beer. I'm good. He goes, let's go do it. So it's like, it's dusk, probably 8:30 at night on a summer. So I got the Jeep. I put it in 4 without even telling anybody. He goes, you got to gun it to get to the top. He goes, we'll get to the top and then we'll weave our way down. I go, cool, no problem. So without telling, of course, the wives, he goes, there's the path. You got to get it in 4, get it up there. So I come flying out from behind the garage, probably doing 51, 52, and I'm just spinning the entire way up. I feel my wife's look from around the corner. She's going, oh my God, what is he doing? We get to the top, no problem. There's just mud everywhere. I got doors off. There's mud flying everywhere. We start to snake down like this. And this, I actually like going slowly as opposed to going quick up these things. So I'm like, you know, the thing's going like this and like this. He goes, here's the problem right at the very end, behind the shed. He goes, you're going to have to crank it and gun it at the same time and kind of fishtail out of it. He goes, otherwise you're going to hit this. You're going to hit this, you know, like if the stump's like right here, he goes, otherwise you're going to kick this stump. And he goes, we're going to go ass over tea kettle. He goes, you have one shot at this. So of course, everybody's watching at this point because we've been snaking down the trail for a good.
Oh yeah.
So I go, all right. So I turn on my high beams. I lean out like this. And I kind of look over. I go, all right, here we go. So I gun it. I give it one swoop like this. I fishtail out of it. I feel my back bumper touch and I gun it. I go out into the middle of the field and I almost got it stuck. I pinned it like this and I pulled it out and Siobhan goes, you're really lucky you pulled that one out.
Yeah, that could have rolled a couple times. That's why they make the roll bar.
That's it. That's it.
That's awesome. So mine actually, a good stuck story, my favorite stuck story anyways, actually doesn't have to do with like precarious situations, but a friend of mine, my friend Ryan and my friend John and I were moving John's brother Mike. And we were moving him into some stuff from his girlfriend's house, this other house. And we went by, there's a huge cornfield that we've gone off-roading in before in a cool terrain area that had some hills and some cool like wooded areas and stuff. Good rocks to go over, like the type of rock where you could like, we go there and have lunch and you could park one tire on the rock, you know what I mean? Because that's super cool. So we were like, all right, we'll just dip through here real quick and then we'll go right back to moving, which sounded like a good idea. So we're going through there and all of a sudden we get to this point and there's the only way you can cross this little creek that's like an overflow from the Seneca River. It's just a one crossing thing. And there are like 10 wild turkeys just like camped out on this bridge. So we're like, what do we, so we stop and we're like, hey, start honking, you know, and the turkey sees us and the boss turkey, he's not even like, oh, I should move my family here. He just gets up and starts kind of like flexing, right? And he starts like chirping a little bit. So we're looking at each other like, well, we've honked at him. So then, you know, throw it and drive towards him, hoping the threat of the vehicle coming is going to get them to disperse. And that just made them even madder. And we're like, what the hell? So we sat there. Now we've been here for like 15 minutes and I'm like, I don't know what to do. So I get out of the car and I'm like, I'm going to throw a rock in their general direction, not try to hit them, but that should spook them. So I throw a rock and all the rock does is make them even madder and hunker back in. So basically we sat there for like 25 minutes and, you know, the worst thing is we were, before we went up there into the woods, we were like, should we stop and get beer now after the move? And we're like, no, let's just go off-roading real quick. We should have actually got like a case of beer because we were stuck there till eventually finally the big boss turkey, he was kind of like, all right, now that I've taught you a lesson, they all waddle off and we finally went through. Then we had to go back and people were like, where have you been? Did you guys stop to get beer? We're like, no, actually a bunch of turkeys bullied us into basically being stuck in a pasture for a while. So, you know, it goes to show you, man, Mother Nature is not to be messed with.
That's right. There's different ways of getting stuck. That's for sure.
So that was fun for us. So speaking of turkeys, what's your favorite lunch to have on a boat as a big boat guy and a lake guy?
So, you know, I'm a Casanova guy now, but I grew up a Skinny Atlas guy. We still spend a lot of time out there. Nothing better than pulling the boat into Skinny Atlas, pulling into the pier, walking across the street, and getting a pie from Valentine's.
True.
That's it.
True.
Easy.
Okay, that's a good answer. So mine changes all the time because I've had like a really good burrito on a boat. My friend, my partner in the cooking show, Alex, who's editing this, has this great idea, but I know he won't let me share it. It's basically like a burrito delivery service on boats. I won't tell you the name and everything like that at all. But basically these burritos get launched to your boat. So you'll text someone like, hey, we're the blue like Mastercraft and the whatever it is. And you're like, cool. And all of a sudden you sit there and look up and the burritos get fired at you. So it's not that though. Like I grilled some octopus and a bunch of stuff. I made a cold seafood salad and a cold salmon salad. Because on a boat, My friend has a really cool boat that has a grill on it, so we can grill stuff. But to me, you got to have like cool, chilled salads, cold proteins that are good on a boat, because you're like, oh, we'll eat right when we get to this certain place, and then it takes a long time. So that's typically a good go-to move for me on a boat. That type of lunch.
It's so much fun because we're very lucky that we have the boat out here. We actually got a new to us boat this year, which is fun. It's got coolers everywhere. It's got a little table on it so we can play. Well, when we're allowed to, we can play pitch on the table.
Yes.
It's got about 100. It's got about 100 drink holders everywhere. It's one of those kind of like deck boats, so we can fit 100 people out there. So hopefully this summer we'll be able to have a couple of adult cocktail cruises and really do it up. But usually we're hauling kids, we're hauling tubes, we're doing something. So it's quick pie, in and out. Let's get back on the water.
So I love to making lunch is fun, especially making it for a boat thing. But you just mentioned something else that I don't know that you know about me, but you talk about the card game pitch. Some people actually think that I invented the game. I'm so good at it. I didn't. I just happen to be incredibly skilled at it. So at some point we might have to test out how that works.
Let's do that. We have a running game. You'll love this then. So our friends, the same ones that we got the Jeep almost stuck with, they moved here 4 years ago. We have a notebook. We're big pitch players. We used to play at Bosco's in Solvay. We used to play back then.
Yes.
That's how far back we go. So we have this notebook that goes back 4 years. So it's the guys against the girls. So we have a running tally from 4 years. We have a 4-year match going.
Wow.
So I forget that. And we're only off by like 2 or 3. I think it's like 46 to 43. But we have so the book on it, for somebody came up with a name, Pitch Y'all. So we play three hands because we all got young kids, and that's as long as they can hang out.
Yep.
So as soon as somebody wins, I'm always the scorekeeper. So as soon as somebody wins the decisive third game of the evening, I slam the book and I say, pitch y'all, and then that's it, we're out.
I love it, man. I love it. I love that you've got, that's a lot of quality time to spend too, because that's a great thing about playing pitch with people that you love. You're laughing, maybe having a drink, but it's a good conversation because you can talk about things while still like dropping a deuce on somebody,
Yep, we love it. It's our favorite game.
Awesome. Well, while we're talking about boats, what's your favorite party down song to blast on a boat? Give us the context in the song.
Yep, I have 2 answers for you. The first answer is when my wife is on the boat. It is anything by Michael Jackson and California Love by Dr. Dre. That's the first
jam. That's a jam.
When she's not on the boat and I'm hanging out with the teenagers, it is Highest in the Room by Travis Scott or Blueberry Faygo by Little Mosey.
Okay, so those are also dope songs too. Highest in the Room is such an awesome song. Yeah. That kind of fits. Like for me, it also depends on the people. Like if I'm with my wife and it's like low key, something like Gnarls Barkley, crazy, like low key and like a sexy vibe to it, I'm down with. But if it's like partying up, so my friend Alex again, who he and I and a crew of us decided to rent a boat, a big party boat, and we went to Owasco Lake and we were just gonna tear this lake up. So we did, and then like we see a bunch of like boats all parked up like they do, and people out like playing in the water, and they're kind of like low key. And we come around where we could have parked up here, but there's like 14 boats in a row. So we like go around them so we can come down in front of all of them. And blasting as loud as we could was all I do is win. And the guys on the boat are going crazy, like just, and every time we go by, people start putting their hands up. And when we parked, people just started flocking to our boat. And I was like, this is like the Pied Piper of boat music, I guess, Because I kind of like that for a party setup too. Like we were just at Oneida Lake at a friend's of ours, our friend Timmy Culfer and Katie Culfer. And like, what do you guys want to do? There's 3 places we can go to. We can go to a place like it's a buck wild area, or like the middle place, or like a super chill place. And we chose the middle place. But that's really interesting about boat owners and that type of conglomeration of people, because you get different vibes. Some have a ton of kids there and they're gonna play wiffle ball. Another one has, people doing other things,
It's wild. We've only been in it a couple of years, but we're learning a lot. It's just something, it's so funny. I told Siobhan, like, because I never had access to Skinny Atlas Lake growing up. I just, like, none of my friends had boats. We didn't have a boat. I literally, growing up there, I was only on the water maybe 5 times in my entire life. So one of the things that we talked about here is, if we had the means, we were going to get on the water. And we tell the kids all the time, it's like, it's not just for our family. Every single one of your friends that doesn't have access to the lake, we want them on the boat. We want them on the tube, because I want to create those memories for those kids that I didn't have growing up. So for me, I know like we're totally into the kid thing right now, but you know, as we get older,
awesome.
we want to travel. We want to travel with. We want to go to Lake George. Want to go to, you know, Owasco's a great place too. So we're all about it, man. It's a really fun, especially now with gas prices the way they are. It's an inexpensive day out. It's just like, shoot, $2 a gallon. Go rip all afternoon for $50.
I love that you said that about your kids too, new experiences. So I didn't grow up with access to water either, but my parents would always take us camping, especially my dad, and you know, learning how to canoe and those different things. They were big on these experiences and now become really formative later in life. And then as you get older sometimes, and your kids will realize this too, as you and I have, is like, you'll be like, oh man, this is something that I was blessed to have access to and learn about at a younger age, and that other people don't. So I love that you're approaching it like that. Well, speaking of your kids then, what's common ground content? Like you mentioned Travis Scott, Lil Mosey. What's some common ground content for you and your kids that you can both, like either you're flipping through the remote or you're turning the dial? What's something that you can land on both sides? Be like, all right, cool.
We're big into sports, you know, baseball, softball, skiing. We're huge skiers. If you're going to live here, I think you got to take advantage of those things. Mm-hmm. So I think for us, it's music, it's sneakers, it's culture. We're big gamers in this house too. We all play Fortnite. We all stream. We all do that kind of stuff. You know, it's food. It's a little bit of foodie stuff. It's a little bit of travel stuff. We love going down to New York. It's one of our favorite things to do. But in terms of consuming content, we don't watch a ton of like movies or anything together, but we're all big Star Wars fans. I think we watched the latest one. You know, we got the one quarantine gift we gave to the family was the brand new sound bar with the woofers and the whole thing. So yeah, man. You know, I'm a big fan of Josh our buddy Josh over at K-Rock, and he does a house party on Friday nights, and it's silly and it's fun. So that's us like cranking the sound bar. So music is a big one with us. I'm very lucky to work with some pretty high profile clients, which, you know, has my street cred up in the middle school with the kids. We'll talk about that maybe in a little bit. But yeah, kind of those things are definitely what bind us together.
So those are awesome answers. Sports too, but right now sports is being taken from us. So it's more playing it right than watching it. I think about my 12-year-old nephew who I played golf with last week. We social distancing golf. Yeah. You know, there's a lot of things that we have in common. Star Wars is a great piece of content that we can relate to. A lot of music too. Obviously, I like Travis Scott. Obviously, he does too. But some of the other stuff though too is the opinion on the content on what they like, children versus adults and teenagers and everything too. So both he and I are fans of Drake. But I'm more like the forever Drake when Drake gets really like grimy and everything like that. And he's more of like the God's plan. And I'm like, well, dude, like the harder Drake gets a little bit like Travis Scott and those guys. And he's like, yeah. So it's interesting how people's take on different things. You know, Michael Jackson, you mentioned earlier, is primarily seen as dance music a lot of times, right? But there's other things that are like big and emotional, like his voice and all the different things that he does. So it's cool how you can see intergenerational people appreciate the same things, but for different reasons.
It's totally cool. And what's fun about what we're doing is, you know, our entire family is into hip hop and rap. We are. Siobhan will listen to it too. I mean, she and I are Dre, Snoop, 50 Cent, you know.
Yeah, me too. All day.
Right? So you can put on that stuff and the kids will listen to it. Like I'm a huge, you know, Beastie Boys, Ill Communication. Like I you know, cut my teeth on that stuff. So, yeah. But what's fun is, you know, the 14-year-old, my son, he'll want to know like the latest SoundCloud stuff. He'll want to know like the stuff like as soon as it comes out. He wants to know, that's the stuff he's listening to in his ear. The moment that mom and dad and his little sister get a hold of it, like it's not cool.
It's over. Yeah,
it's
yeah.
Over. Like it's done. But that's what we like to listen to. And I think people are kind of surprised about that we're kind of into it. But no, it's always been a very large influence in our lives.
Yeah, I mean, I know that you guys are big social media users and Twitch and those different things like that. Are you guys TikToking? Like, what's going on?
No,
family setup.
We definitely need to get into TikTok. I'm not. I don't think the kids are. I think it's the next thing. I need to understand it more because I'm doing a lot of work in that space. I do need to understand it better. So maybe you can teach me.
I'm in the process of learning myself, like for some clients and everything. But my nephew got me onto it. But TikTok also like any social media thing. You know, there's different check boxes, but it automatically checks automatic updates for you. So all of a sudden, like if you get an Instagram notification on my phone, and I'm sure yours is too, I only want a notification if it's a non-group direct message, right? I don't want like someone liking my shit to be something that beeps up there. But TikTok won't even be like your own stuff. It'll be like, did you see this TikTok? Did you see this? And I'll look at my phone like, ooh, it has nothing to do with me whatsoever. And it's got to be about me, I guess, to me to be interested.
Isn't that what social media is about? You want the notification is so important.
That's for sure. Okay, so speaking about influencing and stuff like that, and your personal brand, what's the scariest / bravest moment you've had as an influencer or as a brand developer for you?
You know, in terms of a brand developer, this was when we were at the New York State Fair. We were pouring disco at the New York State Fair, and it literally blew up overnight. Like it was, we were at the Empire. If you know where the Empire Room is at the State Fair, that we were pouring there. We were pouring on the patio, and I was with my buddy Ben Eberhardt, who had the contract from the Colgate Inn at that point. And he goes, "Hey, come on out for 2 or 3 days. You know, pour on the patio, see how it goes." I ended up bringing 50 to 55 cases a day from Casanova out to the State Fair. Like it blew up over. So what was scary, and I mean this in a positive way, it was scary that we started pouring. We poured 6,500 samples in the 13-day period of the state fair. I ended up losing about 11 pounds that week just because of all the hustle. What was scary about it was you work so hard to lay the groundwork. You know brand better than 99.9% of the people. All you do is you storytell on the platforms where you feel your audiences are gonna best consume it.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it clicks. Something happened. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, people are coming from around the fairground saying, "What is this stuff? My friend just told me about it. I have to have this." And there was this, I actually got nervous once, and I guess I would call it scary. It was like the first Sunday, so Thursday, Friday. Yeah, it was like the first Sunday of the New York State Fair. It was a slow news day. So word was getting around the fairgrounds that what we were doing, every single like radio and TV, it was like Channel 9, Channel 3, Channel 5 was a thing back then. Spectrum or Time Warner, it was like everybody was in my face all at once, like just pouring samples. Like I never felt claustrophobic before, but all of a sudden it just like happened. And then the next day I was getting calls from like around the state saying, "Who are you guys?" It was on the front of Wine and Spirit magazine. Like I literally do not remember that 2-week period because it all happened at once. It was a little overwhelming, to be honest with you.
That's an awesome story though, and I can imagine being overwhelming and a bit scary. I mean, those are incredible quantities to be sampling a product that no one's ever had before. And then, I mean, it speaks to the quality of the product, but also the hustle to get it out there. Because I mean, you know, going into that, you're probably a little scared and nervous too. Like, is anyone going to drink this shit? You know?
Right. Yeah, I mean, we spent. If I told you what we invested, you know, $20,000 into this project. You know, and at that time, it still is a lot of money, but at the time, it was like everything. It's like, okay, you're putting your kid's college onto a. Talk about, you know, card table. It was literally a card table standing in the corner of the New York State Fair going, if this doesn't go, like, what do you do, right? So I guess now that you flushed it out of me, I think that was probably the scary part, was literally going all in on this brand, and then all of a sudden it clicked, and then all this avalanche of attention came. But it was wild. It was, we felt every single emotion that week.
That's one of the reasons why I use you as an example when I'm talking to people about when they want to build a brand from scratch. And people sometimes refer to it as a passion project. I'm like, that's cool to have a passion project. But some people, what they do is like, they literally bet their livelihood on it, which you did. And obviously it worked out fantastically, but it takes a lot of guts and bravery to do that. So that's just one of my favorite stories. It's similar from like, so for me, any scarier bravery for our brand, for my brand, for all brands, for me, prior to my own brand, has been on somebody else's dime, meaning, okay, let's try this creative idea. If it doesn't work, maybe you'll fire the agency, but I'm probably not going to get fired because I'm pretty good at what I'm doing. So it's playing with the house money a lot of times. So let's try this crazy idea. And then you start building, for me, started building a reputation of being an aggressive thinker and these things. But like, oh, this is cool, let's try it. But again, it's still playing with the house money. Like this guy wants to run for this office. Cool, let me help you do that. And if you lose, but I'm not the one that loses, right? Might not get paid because you ran out of business, but so it almost for me created a sense of false security sometimes in terms of I don't want to say gambling with a brand, but that's what you're kind of doing sometimes. Well, you're gambling with emotion and your personal sense of well-being and self-awareness and your self-identity. So for me personally, and I can't speak for my partner, Alex, the first thing was actually getting the cooking show off the ground. And then now that we've got proof of concept, people started to watch it, we liked it. And then the next one was like, hey, what do we do during COVID? And he had this idea of what we're doing now, interviewing people. He goes, we'll do like a short run. Maybe we'll get like 7 or 8 weeks and we'll do this, and at least people will still see our content there, and it might not drive huge subscriber numbers because it's super kind of hyper local, but it's creating content. And I was like, oh, that seems like a cool idea. And then I'm like, oh shit, but I've got to be able to be, you know, interesting enough to hold a conversation with people that are going to be more interesting than we are, because that's why you have guests. So now that that's worked a little bit, we're starting to think about, as we're building the rest of our brands, what's the next scary, brave thing we can do. And for me, I try to tell people that are younger than me or older than me, rather, it doesn't matter, that are trying to do different things. And they're like, I've always wanted to do this, and it's like, fuck the but, bro. That's out right now. Like, and it should always be like, you're going to regret at 50. I mean, I'm 42. I would regret at 50 if we never tried this. And if it never worked, we launched a couple episodes a year ago and nobody watched it, I wouldn't sit there and be like, I wonder what would have happened if. And every time I've been in a situation where someone's like, well, you need to do this if you want to teach. Okay, well, if I get that, I wonder if that can happen. And, you know, so to me, it's one of those things that now I'm much more willing to take that type of risk, because, you know, people will talk shit about you, some will, and that's life. The younger version of me, I wish would have known that, but he would have screwed it up somehow anyways. But it's one of the things that's funny now. I mean, you've taken a lot of, calculated risk, but good risk with the different brands and stuff you guys are doing on Skinny Atlas, what you're doing with creating your brand company, working with these different wineries and places there, those were risks. Now they paid off, but I mean, if you would have said to yourself prior to Life of Reilley, would you be willing to take those risks? I don't know if you would. Do you think you would have? No,
probably not, because like you said, it's easier to cash the paycheck every Friday, right? I mean, it's so much easier to have that stability. And that's the hardest part about being an entrepreneur is, you know, you can have side hustle. Side hustle has entrepreneurial tendencies, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if you want to be a true entrepreneur and literally feed your family with what you're doing from, 9 to 9 or 9 to 10 every single day, to be honest, is, you need to jump. You need to jump and not have that parachute, and to say, okay, I have to build something. I have to create something out of nothing so that it floats me before I hit the ground. And I think this is the analogy I keep using with COVID and coronavirus, is that the people that bought into the system of building brand, and that's the beautiful part about brand, is that you can talk about anything you want. You can be the thought leader and expert about anything you want. But I have the 5 things. And when people think about me, it's because I've been doing that for, 10 years I've been doing this now. The people that got pushed off the cliff, we all did. Those people that have been building brand and been talking about things they want to talk about for however many long, they had a parachute on their back because people automatically think of that person. It's the people that didn't build brand and didn't talk about the things and didn't therefore become the thought leaders that had to build the parachute on the way down. Because if you don't, it's like, how many places are closing? How many restaurants are closing? How many retail shops are closing? And it's an awful, awful thing to think about. But here's the punchline. You can always start today. You can say, I have a restaurant. I'm focusing on takeout. I want to do live Twitch videos with my chef. I want to text to order. I'm going to text a platform of 300 people in Skinny Atlas or Casanova or Salve or Cicero or wherever at 4 o'clock to say, here's the meatball sub special for tonight. Here's a 30-second video of how chef was producing, how chef was making it tonight. How many can I put you down for the family? If any one person texted me that at 4:30 this afternoon, I would go, yeah, give me 4. Done. Deliver. So it's that opportunity. We all got pushed off a cliff. I just talked about it a little while ago. Stop romanticizing about what got you here. Adapt and change. You have a better chance to survive.
Yeah, that idea of adapt and change is huge. And for the people that want to side hustle and grow that out, they still have to learn that too. And there's nothing wrong with having your side hustle turn into your major hustle and however you want to do it. But the idea of being brave remains. Like a side hustle can't be something where you're like, you know what? I'm gonna start doing a scrapbook business. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's a cool business too. But you can't do it like, I'm gonna do it. Then you do it for a week and it feels good. And you're like, okay, I'm gonna take a month off. That's not a side hustle. It's barely a side hustle. You know what I mean? That type of, you've got to have some type of, the emotional commitment leads to the financial commitment, the time commitment, but you've got to have that emotional buy-in with yourself and get yourself to feel that way.
Absolutely.
Okay, so here we got one for you too. You have to pick a celebrity to go off-roading with.
There's only one celebrity. See, I'm not one of those people that, as I just said, I don't consume a lot. I'm not in awe of celebrity, but there is one celebrity that for the last 25 years I've been in awe of, probably 30 years since I was 12 years old, and I heard his music hit for the first time during SummerSlam. I think it was 1991. It's The Undertaker. I'm going off-road. I'm going off-roading with The Undertaker. Whenever I hear his music hit, and he's still wrestling, and he shouldn't still be wrestling, every time his music hits, it melts me into a 12-year-old little boy. So I would love to go off-roading with The Undertaker.
So that is a badass answer. I toyed with three things getting down to this, and one of them similar to that was I thought about Stone Cold Steve Austin. And like him the other day when he was wearing a mask and someone like questioned him on Facebook and he was basically shut the hell up and like, come meet me in my house. We can talk about my mask, So there's something about him that I was like, and then I remember watching him on Howard Stern when you could watch it a lot. And he was a guest right before Snoop Dogg was, and they passed in the hall and they stopped and talked. You could tell that they were friends. Because Snoop would be another one too, I think would be fun. But lately I've been getting into, I've been listening a lot to Doja Cat. Have you listened to her music at all?
No, I haven't. I need to.
Yeah, check her out. She's got a cool flow that can be low key and fired up. But her Twitter handle is the most ridiculous thing I've ever read. So I feel like, okay, we're going off-roading. She can control the music or she could drive. But she's probably not going to let me control the music. But she's someone that I can just, I feel like she's on the rise to blow up, which is cool. But there's something about her style that I think, because if you're going to, like, if you go off-roading and you go out on a boat, you do anything with somebody, you go skiing with someone, you are stuck with that person for, a good amount of time. And you don't want to get sick of them. So I'm all about like someone's going to be interesting and, so Doja Cat's who I'm going off-roading with.
That's cool. I'm gonna check out that Twitter. I like that.
Yeah, check her out. She's pretty cool. Okay, so now we're getting to the lightning round, right? These are 5 questions, and you don't know any of them, so it's going to be a this or that. So you have to pick which one you're picking, and then why you're picking it.
Okay.
Okay. Number 1, 2-door or 4-door Jeep Wrangler?
Used to be a 2-door guy. Now I'm all 4-door. I call the 2-doors baby Jeeps because ever since my kids were born, they've been in strapped into Jeeps. We still have pictures from when they were about 12 weeks old strapped in, and that was the only way we could get our daughter just to take a nap, was to strap her into the Jeep and just ride her around. So I was a 2-door guy growing up. Now I'm definitely a 4-door.
So the 4-door, in your opinion, is the grown-up Jeep version?
It is. I call it the baby, the teenager and the 25-year-old, that's the 2-door Jeep. But the family Jeep is the touring Jeep. You got to pull the boat with something now too. So you need a little bit more power with a 4-door. Yep.
Okay, great answer. Okay, would you rather be witness to a sunset or a sunrise?
Sunset. I'm definitely the campfire, get off the boat, sunburn head to toe, campfire, pizza pie, sit down, have a glass of wine, perfect summer day, end of day.
I like that you're also throwing in sunburn head to toe, just throwing in the mix. Then you had a good day.
I'm a sun worshiper, if you can tell.
Yeah. For sure. But that's the mark of living the right life, I guess. Okay, would you rather wear a leather or a jean jacket?
Jean jacket, because I'm a huge fan of 80s hair metal. So I gotta go jean metal. I gotta go jean, like Motley Crue style. I just can't. My wife would be laughing right now if I said anything close to leather. I don't think I've ever owned leather. So I gotta go jean jacket.
Okay, so this isn't part of that, but I got to follow up to that question then. What patch do you have on the back of that jean jacket?
I got to go Cobra Kai.
Ooh, good badass answer. Because Motley Crue's a good answer. Cobra Kai, dude, that's awesome. All right, would you rather be boating or skiing with the family?
Oh, that's as hard as it gets right there. I got to go boating because we're only 2 seasons in and we've been skiing for 5. So, oh man, that's hard because I love I love the fitness aspect of skiing because it doesn't feel like you're working out, but you're really working out.
Yep.
And I love the Foggy Goggle, and there's no better fries in the entire world than Foggy Goggle French fries. I gotta go boating.
Okay. All right. That's a tough
That's as hard as it gets for me.
Okay. Frank's Red Hot or Tabasco?
Tabasco.
Ooh, quick out the gate, Tabasco.
Yeah.
Any particular flavor of Tabasco that you love?
Green Tabasco on Zeb original loaded fries. I worked at Zeb's back in, so Siobhan and I worked at Zeb's right out of high school in 1996, 7, and 8. And that was the first time I ever found green Tabasco. And so they had Zeb original wings, which are, in my opinion, still the best wings in Central New York.
Good wings.
And loaded fries. So back when we didn't matter what we ate, we would split those after our shift. We'd get half-price appetizers, bring them home, stay up till the sunrise, and do green Tabasco on Zeb's loaded fries.
And back then, you might have liked the sunrise more than the sunset, depending on how you got there. I too am a huge fan of the green Tabasco. Okay, so now as we're closing out, tell us what's a message you want people to know, either about you or things that you're representing right now, or just life in general. Share something, anything that you want with anybody you want.
Here's the advice, and then I'll kind of let you know what cool things I'm working on. So the advice is the two things. The first thing we touched on is no matter what you're doing, don't care what anybody else thinks. I know it's so much easier to say than do, but that is so important. The other thing I would say is whether it be a side hustle or a full entrepreneur hustle, or take the parachute away. People buy from people. I don't care if you're selling a product. I don't care if you're selling a service. You have to tell your story. That's one of the reasons I'm told that Life of Reilley has been successful is we were a family, comma, that happened to own a distillery. We were not a distillery, comma, that happened to be owned by a family. And those are two very, very different things. If you can make that connection with your own storytelling and your own branding and your own eventual thought leadership, that's a huge, huge thing. In terms of stuff that I'm working on, I've just been very, like you and I talked on before we hit record, I've been very lucky to build this life that I get to kind of pick and choose who I work with at this point in my life.
Yeah.
And that's given me some really cool opportunities. My personal brand is really leveled up. I'm working with some celebrities on their beverage stuff. You know, people are thinking about me. I'm getting referrals that I never thought I would get referrals from. And I'm very lucky, but it took 10 years to be an overnight success. You know, you got to put in that time to have these kind of successes. And again, I'm very thankful for that. But those are the two or three things I would tell people.
Man, that is awesome advice. And the thing is about overnight successes and one-hit wonders, and all of a sudden they're there. People talk about like Psy and Gangnam Style. Like if you've seen that video, but like when that thing blew up, everybody's like, oh my gosh, this guy came out of nowhere. Have you seen the video? That type of production value that went into that wasn't an overnight thing. Everybody has to work hard to get where they are, but we only see people when they're hitting walk-off home runs in the World Series, not when they're in Double-A about to get cut and they decide to take extra ground balls. That type of thing, and the thing is with you is a lot of people that have met you for the first time, not a lot, but I think many of them now only see this brand, this guy that's created a distillery and now has his personal brand and now he's working with celebrities and some of the things there. They only see that. They don't know the grind and the risk that went into that. So that's why you're an inspiration to many, to this show, dude. We're glad to have you here. Spatchcock Nation, from Ben Reilley to y'all, keep going, keep doing it, baby. Peace.